Final Fantasy VIII asks us to accept one of the strangest facts in the entire series. Every monster in its world originally came from the moon. Once their numbers reach a saturation point, they gather into a colossal mass before falling upon the planet in an event known as the Lunar Cry. This catastrophe destroyed the civilization of Centra, reshaped the world, then returned during Skull's journey. The game explains how the Lunar Cry occurs. It never explains why the moon creates monsters in the first place. Nearly 10 years later, Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, introduced another moon, one revealed to be the remains of an ancient space fleet. Within it, the creator uses crystals to observe how life evolves, harvesting the results before erasing civilizations he considers failures. The games never establish a canonical connection. Placed beside each other, however, they suggest a disturbing possibility. Perhaps Final Fantasy VIII's moon was never a natural satellite. Perhaps the Lunar Cry is the moment an ancient planetary system completes its purpose. The world of Final Fantasy VIII understand the Lunar Cry as a recurring natural catastrophe. Monsters continue to accumulate on the moon until their population reaches a saturation point. They then converge into a single mass, forming a vast column of living creatures that descends towards the planet. The event has occurred repeatedly throughout history, with one of its previous manifestations devastating the Centra continent so completely that its civilization disappeared. Eventually, humanity discovered that this process could be manipulated. The crystal pillar, an object believed to have originated on the moon, produces a powerful energy field between the satellite and the planet. Esthar excavated the pillar from the region devastated by Centra's destruction, later enclosing it inside the mobile structure known as Lunatic Pandora. Acting through Cypher, Ultimecia has Galbadian forces move Lunatic Pandora over Tyr's Point. There, the crystal pillar reacts with the location, producing a powerful energy field between the planet and the moon. The resulting directional signal triggers the Lunar Cry over Esthar. From the lunar base, Skull watches the surface of the moon darken as countless creatures begin gathering together. They spill into space moments later, carrying Adele's orbital prison down with them. FF8 explains this sequence with surprising detail. Saturation initiates the natural phenomenon, while the crystal pillar can induce it artificially and determine where its contents will fall. Yet the most important part of the cycle remains unexplained. Where did the moon's enormous population of monsters originally come from? That absence becomes even stranger once we consider how organized the Lunar Cry appears to be. The moon behaves like a reservoir whose population grows until it reaches a specific threshold. At that point, the creatures gather in one location before crossing an enormous distance through space towards the planet. The catastrophe can occur naturally, although a powerful signal from the surface can induce it artificially and influence where the monsters will land. The crystal pillar makes this system even more suspicious. FF8 states that it is believed to have originated on the moon, which means the object capable of controlling the Lunar Cry may have come from the same place as the creatures it commands. Its energy field connects both celestial bodies, transforming a supposed natural disaster into something that can be directed like a planetary weapon. Nobody knows who created the pillar, where the moon's monsters originated, or why its ecosystem follows this cycle. Esthar learned how to exploit the mechanism without ever discovering its original purpose. For years, these questions remained an unexplained part of FF8's world. Then, Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, presented another moon whose purpose was finally revealed, offering a possible context for everything FF8 had left unanswered. In Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, a new moon approaches the blue planet. Its immense gravitational pull disrupts the tides, alters the behavior of living creatures, and threatens to consume the planet. When Cecil's party reaches its core, they discover that this celestial body was created by someone who calls himself the Creator. His civilization once prospered beyond anything their planet could sustain. They consumed their world down to its core, then escaped aboard a vast space fleet. Generations passed inside that artificial environment until their bodies could no longer survive. The Creator became the last member of his species, while the remains of those ships formed the structure now traveling through space as the true moon. Searching for the mistake that destroyed his people, the Creator began an experiment across countless worlds capable of sustaining life. He created the crystals to encourage civilizations to advance while recording every stage of their evolution. Once enough data had been collected, his Maenads recovered the crystals for analysis. The blue planet had now reached the end of that process. The Creator judged its inhabitants incapable of evolving far enough to satisfy him, so the true moon continued upon a collision course that would erase their world. What appeared from the surface to be another celestial body was therefore the final component of an ancient experiment. A travelling archive capable of observing life, recreating organisms from stored data, and destroying a planet once its civilization had been declared a failure. The strongest version of this theory is that FF8's moon belongs to the same kind of artificial system as the true moon. The main difference is that nobody appears to be controlling it anymore. In the After Years, the Creator is still present. He studies the information stored by the crystals, recreates life from that data, and decides when a civilization should be destroyed. Every part of the true moon has someone guiding it. Now imagine a similar moon whose creators disappeared thousands of years ago. Its original purpose has been forgotten, although its systems never stopped working. It continues using stored biological information to recreate living creatures, with nobody left to choose what should be created or control how many bodies the archive produces. This could explain why FF8's moon is filled with monsters. They may be life forms repeatedly reconstructed from ancient data by an abandoned machine. As their numbers increase, the moon eventually runs out of space to contain them. The saturation point would then act as an emergency limit. Once the moon becomes too full, the Lunar Cry empties its contents onto the planet. After the release, the archive can begin producing life again until the next saturation point is reached. The crystal pillar also fits this theory. It is believed to have come from the moon and creates an energy field connecting the moon to the planet. It could have been a control device designed to command the lunar system from the surface. This would explain why it can trigger a lunar cry before natural saturation and direct the creatures towards a specific location. Lunatic Pandora does not create the lunar cry. It sends a signal that the abandoned moon still recognizes. This creates the clearest difference between the two games. The true moon destroys the blue planet because the Creator makes that decision. FF8's moon may produce the same result automatically because its original programming continues without anyone in control. That would make the destruction of Centra the result of an ancient system performing an emergency release. Billions of creatures were emptied onto the planet. The civilization below disappeared. Then the moon slowly began filling again. Under this theory, The Lunar Cry is an automated function of the same kind of artificial moon seen in the after years, a machine built to store biological information and recreate life. Its creators are gone, its archive is running without control, and every Lunar Cry is the moment that overflowing system empties itself onto the world below. Final Fantasy VIII never reveals who created the Crystal Pillar or why its moon holds so many monsters. The After Years offers no confirmed connection, though it shows us how such a system could have begun. Final Fantasy VIII's moon may belong to the same type of artificial structure as the true moon. Its creators could have disappeared long ago, leaving the archive to operate alone. The system continues turning stored biological information into living creatures, even though nobody remains to control what it creates. When the moon reaches its limit, the Lunar Cry may act as an emergency release. The Crystal Pillar could be an old control device that forces this process to begin early, then directs where the creatures fall. Under this theory, Centra was destroyed by an abandoned machine carrying out its programming without understanding the consequences. The After Years may therefore explain the true horror of Final Fantasy VIII's moon, an ancient experiment that never ended, even after its creators were gone.